record. And then I want to share my screen. Okay, so because I prepare a lot, I want to deliver a lot of information that I had, but also this does not include the Belissa's presentation. So we have a lot to talk about today. But as far as I know, that I look at the statistics that most of the participants actually that they are a professional in ESG sustainability. So I'm skimming over that might be everybody know about, but for the formality, I wanna just go over quickly, and then to set the stage, and then I directly dive into the main topic of today. Okay, so here is actually a lot of things in small font, but you can see that. Can you see my screen? It's okay. Yeah. Okay. So first, I wanna this is an introduction. So to me, this is my 6th webinar of this year in ESG sustainability, and then next week I have a more. Actually, I'm more I'm not in actually in a traditional way the sustainability and ESG field. I'm 30 years experience in high tech, and especially IT, software, telecom, and semiconductor device. And starting from the traditional ways, researcher, professor, and then consultant, and then also patent attorney, and all innovations related. So the motivation, actually, I look at it, ESG was last year I did some project for the World Economic Forum. And then last year I did some application of the digital technology like artificial intelligence and blockchain, other matters to some new economy like we call data economy. And then I look at how the technology innovation can contribute to developing this new economy. And then we tried to find out what will be the next topic. And then I found that because the WFO also, you know, that the Davos Forum also last year that talked about the climate change a lot. So we found that the ESG is a light topic. So that's why I look at this topic. And I found that actually I was in this field for a long time ago when I was in the graduate school in law school. Actually, I did my PhD for 20 years ago, but later I decided to go to law school. So at the law school, actually, I was looking for some opportunity to integrate between technology and law, and I found that there's some MIT professor that actually providing some course about the integration between technology and law was actually the sustainability. So he talked about regulation, global collaboration, and then other sustainability matters. And then that was my first time actually the experience of sustainability matters. And then now it's in the name of the ESG, but actually the ESG is one of the implementation of the sustainability matters. So briefly that I talk about my introduction about why I'm now in this field, and then I aggressively look at this field, and then I decided to, whenever I have a knowledge curve increase, I want to have deliver my understanding, because my understanding is maybe somewhat different from the traditional ESG sustainability professional, because of that I'm looking at the different view. So, and then I get some insight about what kind of things I can contribute this field. And this is what actually I have up to now. This is my webinar about the ESG sustainability. Okay, so first part I briefly go over what is the sustainability imperative. So I'm going to talk about this. So what is the status, why are people talking about ESG sustainability management and investing, and then what is the consideration we should think about in its core factors. and mostly a lot of people are interested in this field is reporting, the disclosure of the, so there are many different type of the frameworks and guidelines, and then some regulations that actually I'm also a lawyer, so I'm interested in the how the regulation is going on in this field. And the second part is the main topic of today's talk is actually the Belissa will talk about a lot of things in this field. So I'm not going to talk about much in here, but I'm going to talk about how actually the digital technologies can have this assessment. So this is my main field. So I'm collaborating with my business partner in the AI, the financial AI solution company. And then I work with them to how to improve the assessment of this impact management stuff. And then so I'm going to talk about something like insight about how we can do in a digital way. So it can be automation of some way to you can actually it can be like half or lot in the management side and investing side about how can use this big data and AI to have to analyze this and assessment of this impact standard. And also the third part will be more technical. This is also my main field. So because this is my field, right? Digital transformation before my delve into ESG. So I look at the ESG topic and then I found that, oh, why not they integrate? And then so I'm going to talk about actually this is not my own idea. There are a lot of actually the other people talking about their integration, especially the WEF that recently they have some committee that actually to look at this, how they integrate the ESG and digital transformation. So I'm going to interest it. And then I'm now what I'm doing is a next generation ESG solution for innovation. So innovation also need, right? I am an innovator, so innovation also need in the traditional sustainability enterprise like investing development side. So this is a part that I'm going to talk about. So what I'm going to talk about today is the three parts. So I'm going to talk about before the Elissa's main talk. So let you have a warming up time and then set the stage. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this is very briefly because a lot of the content in here is just for the informative, and then everybody will already know about this part. So why it is imperative? Because of for example, that you may heard about the Apple recently announced that this is actually their expression of the like a so-called like stakeholder capitalism that the WF launch of this terminology, and then the proposal of the private enterprise actually their before was for the profit for the shareholder. But their now goal is for the sustainability, like for the stakeholders. So it is one thing that is imperative. And then also a lot of people talk about circular zero. So recently there was like UN also the organization IPPC to talk about what the scientists look at the recent climate change. Like there are a lot of the like forest fire going around the world, and then they look at what it might be the symptom of the like only the show of this climate change risk. And then recently there was like a broadcast about it. There also the report about this, that actually the timeline, it will be 10 years actually we need to be worried about. It was like I actually for me actually I heard about like climate change before in my life, right? But I never worry about it. But recently I found at the time I just think about maybe I thought of my death, but now in my lifetime. So I'm seriously thinking about this area. Also in the investing part, investors are driving this part like a millennium, like ages investors and asset owners push down. And you may hear about this one is, and also this in the Davos agenda talk about climate change and the ESG sustainability matters. And then this is just to look at it. Recently, there are a lot of the activities going on. For example, I look at the fascinated by this ESG index. Actually, this is the one actually that we are looking at detail in the how when you develop solution. Actually, not just look at some typical like reporting, like about like SASB report or the sustainability report or the other report like a GRI report, but actually actually the recent trend is actually they disclose their effort in all of their place, in all of the like different media, different like a document and the different ways to disclose. Even the recent trend is that they reporting in the 10K for stock, for example, the stock market is in the United States and then S&P 500 company, actually they provide like a shareholder meeting and they call earnings call. They also disclose their ESG sustainability matters in this area. So, and then also there are a lot of the rating company, actually, this is the one thing that I've looked at it, and everybody know about what the current issue with this rating. Like there is no standard, and then there are many different ways of the metrics and the different ways of measure. So this will be also my concern that I want to be contribute to my insight over my experience to look at this site. And then also investment state, you know that here is like recently there are a lot of trend, for example, that even before is European countries is much leader than in the North America, but the trend is changing now, right? Is very similar, and they will be changed in the future. So this is the one trend that the ESG investing side in the United States will be much highly focused on these matters. And also we have a sophisticated like financial product in ESG like ETF stuff, and then there are a lot of their stuff how they are related to their impact. So usually the traditional way is the impact investment, but actually somebody actually confused about my topic. I'm not talking about the impact investing aspect. Actually, I'm talking about is impact is one of the significant like factors we need to consider in ESG investing. What I mean by the ESG investing is the traditional ESG integrated investing, not just for impact in investing. So this is the one thing that I want to clarify, that the impact mean in my talk is not impact investing. It is talk about impact should be integrated naturally. So this is why I'm going to explain here. So the before was actually people talk about in investing or some management side about the opportunities in the risk. The opportunity risk is enterprise, and the return and cost is investing. But actually, there is another. Here is a key aspect is impact, right? It's a value creation. So it's pretty. We need to think of why we concern about the ESG, right? We want to change something through this effort, right? So in fact, it's not like deliberately driving like impact investing. It should be the result. It should be the conclusion that based on this, look at the opportunity risk, and it should be realized by the impact, right? The value creation through this impact. So this is one actually we want to look at the 3 dimension, not the 2 dimension in the traditional ways we are looking for. And then here is another one. Maybe you may already know about what is the impact is like ESG investing, and look at it, and we need to look at industry and then material indicator and then strategies. And then there are so many reporting framework, and even for me, actually, I look at this one. I actually never look at detail in every aspect. I just look at the SASB, and I look at the like a GRI and the WEF, but never have a chance to look at everything here. So it's so many framework guideline here. And then also reporting trend, there is a lot of it's a collaboration to develop ESG standard among the private sectors. And the regulators working in the European is much advanced in the regulation aspect. And then also in the United States, recently the House they passed the bill to actually ESG disclosure like a mandatory, and then they assigned this job to the SEC. So SEC now aggressively discuss inside about their like cost benefit model and what is the best way to implementing the mandatory disclosure scheme in the United States. So this is one actually that I'm also interesting as a lawyer. And then here is I just look at this field and then I just summarize. I want to clarify what was the issue with the like a reporting standard and their like later like so they are already sustainability metrics, and then what should be done, and then what I can contribute. This is the overall aspect that I've summarized. And then here is like a standardization it is. And then it should be less complex, more clear, relevant, consistent, reliable, comparable, informative. And actually, they summarize everything, talk about it. And then it's cost-effective performance measurement. It needs to be like a real-world impact. And this is one actually that I'm insisting today. And then measure companies' resilience to sustainable risk. And then capture business industry. This is very important. Like materiality is like a very, very important issue in the reporting and then rating and everything. Is they talk about the materiality but we should be concerned about is like they should be very flexibly determined, and they should be considered business characteristic, industry, and jurisdiction. So this is one is I'm recently thinking about it. And then also reliable foundation cross-company comparison, and then to company success in driving sustainable driving value, sort of impact, and then also the future performance, forward-looking assessment. Actually, the forward-looking assessment to the like legal regime over some of the for example, the investment side. Actually, the forward-looking assessment is very critical point in the investing disclosure. And then also there should be the like data standard measurement method. This is also everybody said about this rating organization say this and the other organization say this because of this one is standard, no standard for the measurement, and then no standard of the methodology to how to calculate to get this number. So this will be I summarize it. And then in this appendix actually this is the one actually, this was my previous topic, but this is warming up that how AI can have for this ESG and sustainability field. So some they have to like automatically to make you understandable in this field. This is actually I experience, and then trend analysis, and then risk opportunity impact scoring. You can automatically do using the internal and external information. And then also you can collaborate with like for example the stock earnings volatility analysis, like a stock market, like we call the traditional like algorithm trading that you can also link with. And then also they can automatically greenwashing detection. And then also you can attack like a controversial, and then you can do like a business. I talk about the materiality determination you can do by AI and performance scoring. So I'm going to talk about this later. And then this is this is one actually I got from I developed my code that actually doing machine learning. And then what I did actually I put every information in here. So I put every information in here in my machine learning, and then my machine learning learn about this. What is the most important topic through this whole, because this is a whole talk about the ESG sustainability, every aspect. So it will be very difficult to look at every detail. So I put this as a data to my code, and then it analyzed what is the most important topic, and then I got this knowledge map. So this is looks very difficult. Look at it in detail. It's like that. So this every terminology actually came from my machine learning. AI provide this language from this analysis, for example. But it's very detailed. And then the key point is that AI can be done everything for itself, but should be interact with the human. This is very important. So it interact with me. So I developed this AI, and they interact with me and providing a lot of detail about this, for example, waste, like a packaging waste, plastic waste. This all terminology came from this analysis of this whole the material. And then you can look at it in every aspect of the ESG, human care, human right, workforce safety, everything here. So this is one case actually AI can help you to make you understandable about what the current like landscape of this area. And then also this is one just a appendix. How can you determine materiality? Usually that's through the like for example, like outside the like stakeholders, outside the like professional expert, and then inside some people they discuss about it. So they brainstorming and then iteration and got this one. And this is one way to get is from the McKinsey. But actually, that you can do. For example, this is a SASB material. This is a fixed one, so actually prefixed one. But this has a limitation. For example, I'm a 30 years experience high tech. So I look at the like for telecom, IT, and semiconductor, and then from my internal experience with this industry, they have some limitation because I know about that field very well. So this is one way, very convenient way to actually to fix it, and then by the industry, and then you look at some specific ESG issues in here, but it should be more extended. For example, micro detail like management, micro detail investing. You need to be more like a flexible way to determine materiality. This is one example that actually I did was that empirically you can do. This is my idea that I want to think about it is like that, because who might be the better in position to determine materiality? Individual business, right? Rather than outside the expert, right? Inside the expert, inside the people will be better. And then where they express their materiality, their reporting. So I just gathered all there are like hundreds, thousands of the like ESG sustainability report. And then you can gather it, and then I put that in, and then by the industry, and then I look at depending on their ESG issue, that what they talk about. So most pre-country and most many times of they talk about will be the material to the industry and the business. And this is my conjecture. So they will know better than themselves, and then they will express that the material issues in their disclosure, and then it is very difficult to look at tens of thousands of the document by human. So I put this number in the AI, and then it will be categorized by these topics. And then I can find out, oh, this is a material because they are talking about more. So it depending on the industry, I look at the 5 industry sectors, and then it gives me somewhat reasonable number, right? So this is one way. So actually this is also implementing that in the our AI like a solution here. So this is one way that I actually look at this, how you can. So this is one that was today's topic about the UN SDG. And then in each side, this is the fixed one actually MIT did, but actually I can do this way to you can determine flexibly material issue about each sector of the UN SDG that I'm going to show you later. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about this sustainability impact data because Belissa is expert, so he will take over this part. So I'm going to talk about my part. So he will talk about the recently published by the UN SDG Impact Standards. And then also, this is one actually that I look at it. So this is I look at a lot of the materials outside. I gather like 100 like a document about talk about impact assessment, but I wasn't satisfied how they're doing because I'm more like a quantitative guy. I'm a technical guy. So I like you know that if you cannot measure, you cannot manage. Right? This is the one thing everybody knows. So I want to measure it. So some way, quantitative way. So so what the two makes the quantitative ways, you need to be like a KPI, key performance indicator can be measured, and then can you assess. So this is I summarize everything that this reference. I just this is I cannot show in a time limitation, but I'm going to share this with. My idea is that Okay, so for example, goal 1, no poverty. Actually, you look at the original SDG. This is a very, very broad sense. They describe every aspect of it. But I just look at it, what they are really specifically relate to the enterprise management and the impact, like some investing. So I just make some ways this aspect of this management and the investment aspect as a key performance indicators. And this is not like a comprehensive, but I just provide some example. For example, the KPI 1 is a creation of a secure and decent job, especially for the vulnerable population. And then here is I showed what will be the like example practice, and also some of the best practices. So for example, here is a Qualcomm is the best practice. How so? You can match this side, and then my idea is that this can be as an input. So actually, this can be input to my AI, and then I'm not explain you to detail, but you can AI can train for this KPI. And then once they got some like information from some enterprise, and then they can determine whether they are within this category. And then it will give me the indication that, oh, this company, for example, for example, the Qualcomm disclosed this one, or some way the website I found it, and then it will match with this KPI to this sentence by AI. And then it will be let you know that what is the performance of this KPI in Qualcomm. This is my idea. So I provide all the goals, for example, like goal 2, zero hunger, and then good health and well-being. So this is one indication that I got an idea that how can I actually perform the impact assessments through the AI. So this is everything. So this is very wrong. So I'm not going to talk about everything, because it may be better to hear from Belissa, because I'm going to save a lot of time for her, so he will get much more time. So you will look at it, but my idea is that this is one way to new ways to assess this performance in assess performance based on the UN SDG, and then you can do it, quantify it, and then you can measure it, and then you can use big data and then AI algorithm here. So it is fantastic. This is my idea, but anyway, I just get it. And then another thing that I'm looking at is I'm also involved in some ways, like for example, there are recently an impact award is for example, this is a Hong Kong based like NGO related to this UN SDG. So actually, they are going to have actually I'm also recently appointed as U.S. and South Korea representative of this initiative. So what they're doing is actually they try to promote this impact standard all over the world, and then they decided to like the award some company actually in the best practice in UN SDG Impact Management. They're going to have some ceremony in the August 21. So this is one they are going to actually they already get the like application, and then there are many like notifiable the professional and expert in judges, and then they will have a ceremony this one. And also this is another one. This is a more like a management part. And this award is for the innovator. So this is more like a management. This is more like a technical. So I'm going to attend this one. And then interesting thing is that actually the next week, my webinar is about how the new innovative digital technology can have to accelerate the sustainability. It's my next week topic. But this is like we call the metaverse. It's a new technology. It's a new ways to actually to innovate in the digital space. But actually they using this one and using as a data as an interactive with avatar. So I'm going to be there will be my avatar, and then will participate in this over. So this is virtual, but it looks like real. And then they will real like in the innovator in it's mostly in the UNSDD field. Okay, this is one actually that I'm recently focused on, that how I can contribute this sustainable impact assessment. So this is my business partner in Finscience. And then Finscience AI actually there is alternative ESG score. The difference between this one is a traditional like a rating companies that they are more focused on UN SDG field, and then they look at the more intensive way to look at data in the internally and externally. So they have a look at your performance with the lens of the insider and outsider. This is somewhat different from the different one. So this is one example that actually look at it, and they can provide like industry-wide how the industry, some specific industry performance over this every aspect of this 17 the US SDG goal here, and then also specific company how they go where in each goal in some specific company. So this is based on this AI solution ID. This is my work. I look at the like S&P 500 high-tech industry. I know better. So because I know very familiar with this all these companies like Apple, Microsoft, and then this is all that actually my working field. So I look at this high tech field from the like a software, telecom, IT, and semiconductor device area. And then by this actually you can look at it like a SDG performance, based on each goal, how this industry is going on, which part is doing well and this part is not doing well. So you can figure out this one. So maybe, and then also here is each company's like a performance for the whole area. And here is a for individual aspect, like every company have a different, like a different company have a different UNSD goal. You can look at it, which company is better in which side of this UNSD goal. So this is one AI can help you. So now that this is underdeveloped, so actually I look at it, what is the better way to have how you can analyze this impact like assessment. So actually not just UNSDD, actually I look at the SASB and then GRI and the WEF, and then they have a different like metrics to measure, but I look at what they be linked between the between SASB and SDG relation. So by this way, actually you can convert the look at view, your lens can be converted from UNSD view to lens by the SASB and GRI and WF. So it can be have. And whether you are in the like asset management or you're in the like internally sustainable ESG management side, this will have the not only based on this AI solution, you can look at its performance individually, or the like also you can do that jurisdictionally because of the about the jurisdictional location of each company. You can do that, and then you can take care of the like each different jurisdiction have a different regulation for environmental laws, some of the like human resource laws, labor laws, so they can take care of it. And then later you can convert by the way actually you are familiar with for your disclosure, like for SASB, GRI, and WF. This is one, and it can do that. And then I'm going to share these materials. So if you want to look at it, and then this Finscience AI solution, and they specifically SDGs, they look at the more than 400 SDG related indicators, and then data source is huge amount of data source. And then this is a technical, so they call natural language processing area, and then semantic based semantic analysis and sentiment analysis and data classification is sometimes in AI, but they also have a greenwashing like a detection, and then controversial detection. And then here is I explained that they have an internal score, like they look at all different type of internal score that disclosed by the companies are, and they're also outside the view. So this is where actually you can have a transparency, and also can be like objective ways to credible ways to like determine your score, because you can look at it by the auditor, by the manually, but in the AI you can look at it by the external source and internal source combined. So you can have some more credible way to rating compared to the traditional rating system. And also here is the one actually how actually the detail they can do it, like the up to now is they using the SASB, the fixed like materiality, but in the future that we are going to be flexible ways to do in the materiality by AI. And then here is like individual company and then different company, and then also look at the what the like some of your peers, how they're doing, and then what is your actually the internally and externally is a different, like from other scoring that in the internal aspect and outside aspect. So even you can use it in the investing management, but also you can internally you can get how the in the lens of the outside actually how they can look at your like your performance in this way. So this is the one very helpful for the one, and this is actually like a dashboard about how you can get this information through this SaaS solution. And then I just this is a recent Harvard Business Review, but I recommend that you look at it. So this gives some insight about the thing that actually the impress is that because of the what they mostly talk about the rating is just input. We just measured in the disclosure, they measure just input. So how they, but actually they do not capture like outcome. For example, here is one example, like a number of women of this team, for example, like a diversity and inclusion, and then gender issues, recently the trends, like for example, to try to include the women in their like board member or some of the like their like executive, but just including this is not just it's not one, this is just input. Actually that they want is actually how they actually implementing this way to include more like different way the diversity in your board member will be contribute to your decision making. And then also impact, actually they can be have any social value, right? So this is one give us some insight how can it measure it. Actually my motivation also look at this one, how I can do by some way to using the digital solution. So one take home is when you look at some, this is everybody know about it. It's like a balloon effect, right? For example, society is very complex, right? So if you look at just one side and then you push it, right? But other will be proud, right? It's a balloon effect, right? So you need to be like determine the correct boundary of a look at your impact. For example, is expressed like, for example, that some company have some like a pollution matter, right? And then he sell out his company to other guy, like M&A to other people. And then for this company, actually he never actually no longer like contribute to pollution, but other party will like contribute to pollution. So in society whole, there will be still the pollution. So this is one insight that he talked about. We need to be set the correct boundary to talk about to look at it in the impact. I think that this is very important, right? So for example, this is many ways for climate change. We just say that, okay, we can change by electric car. No, just changing electric car is not the solution, right? So to get the electric car, for example, that you get the electric car, then how the old cars are going, you need to be exported to the poor country. For example, United States, all the electric car replaced by put into Africa. Yeah, right. And then in the earth, right, in the system boundary, there's still pollution, right? So we should be careful about looking at this impact. I like this insight. And then this is a performance of the UNSDG. I like this one is a UNSDG everything, right? Recently, I read about some impact investors talk about, and then he didn't mention about UNSD, but everything he talked about is in this already in the UNSDG goals. So this is like a crystal standard to when you look at and then you talk about the sustainability in ESG matters. Okay. So this is what I try to talk about. I cover first part and the second part. And then now that Belissa actually is a true expert, this sustainability and ESG, the impact matters. So Belissa, it's now your turn. You can share your screen and then you can talk about.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you everyone to be here today. Before starting, I just want to say that I'm super impressed, Alex, by the work you have done, and also, always amazed by how data analytics can be used in such a powerful way. And personally, I would be interested on learning how you train your model, and how long you have been using it, and just learn more, because it's really fascinating and I think it's really useful. But I won't steal time for my questions, and I go to the standards, as Alex said. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So Alex, before starting, I would like to know how much time do I have? Because you said that there is another session at the end. And
enough time. My last section will be about 20 minutes. So you can spend as much as you want. Right?
Okay, no, don't tap me, because I'm a little bit of a chatter, so I keep the time tight, and I have few slides to share with you today. So yes, so thanks for the invitation again. Today I'm going to talk to you all about the SDG Impact Initiative, which is a UNDP flagship to mobilize private capitals towards the achievement of the SDGs. And as I talk, I'm going to go back to Alex's point about ESG and impact and what do we mean by it, because as Alex said, there are different interpretations right now, different concepts like materiality, talking ESG, talking impact, inputs, outputs. So we're going to go through that as I move. And please, if you have any questions, I invite you to use the chat. And also, well, Alex, you tell me if we're going to have questions at the end of this presentation or at the end of everything. So first, I would like to go quickly about the business and investment case for sustainable development and the SDGs. And the reason I want to do that is because there is a lot of discussion about this. And there is, like, I believe that if you really want to impact positively people and planet, not necessarily are going to have profits, right? So let's reflect about that together. And I would like to ask you and invite you to use the chat, and maybe Alex, you can help me. What do you think is the business case for sustainable development? Is there one, right? That's, I think, a very important question. So in our views, and I'm talking on behalf of UNDP SDG Impact, there is really a business case, and it's really strong in terms of why the private sector has to mobilize resources towards the achievement of the SDGs. As you know, the SDGs have become, the blueprint for the world. Everybody's adhering to the standards. I mean, public sector, private sector, and they're all about, achieving a more sustainable future for all. And there are some estimations out there that I really like, and I'm going to do it very quickly. But for example, I wrote here that achieving gender equality alone can really increase the size of the global economy by 26%. There's another interesting statistic that says that investing in food and agriculture, cities, energy, health, and well-being can really open an opportunity of $12 trillion in business opportunities that right now don't exist. So for us, we believe that, and there is data that contributing and achieving the SDGs really offer a compelling growth strategy for business and for the world economy as a whole. So in a nutshell, the business case for working towards the SDGs and sustainable development more in general is the new business opportunities to future-proof your business, right? And when we talk about future-proof your business, it's really about imagine the changing context, right? As we saw the latest IPCC report, and there are climate risks coming and appearing. And if you really consider that ahead, you will be prepared for whatever is going to come in a better way. There is also regulation that is changing, right? And you can be ahead of that and prepare for when that comes. Your risk management is going to be stronger, your reputation is going to be better, and you're going to be able as an organization to attract employees, consumers, customers, investors, have better relations with your stakeholders. And I really like this one, right? Secure your social license to operate, right? Think about the new EU regulation that is really like, not only about profit, as we thought initially when we think about companies, it's really about the impact of this organization and the value creation, as Alec mentioned, right? So we believe that the case is compelling, especially if we consider where we're at right now, socially and environmentally. And this is also something that I like as a reflection. We talk about contributing positively to the SDGs, and that is not only about generating intentional positive impacts per se, but it could also be about not having negative impacts and embedding things such as respect for human rights, equality, and others in the way business operates. And I'm sure you have all heard about, we need a new way of doing the new normal, right, after COVID. Well, what is that new normal? For SDG Impact, the new normal is a word where companies and investors just embed impact considerations into the decision making, meaning we were going to care about three variables: profit, people, and planet. And that's how we're going to operate. We have the opportunity to untap this by developing products and services for underserved populations, but also customers that are even more and more demanding. And Alex, you had a really nice slide that showed that millennials, are going to be a driving force in the economy, and they're going to ask, for example, for more sustainable products, right? So it's really a matter of where are we heading towards, as humanity. And the fact that we need to mitigate negative impacts is really related to the crisis we're facing right now. And an example is the IPCC report that just was released 2 days ago that is really telling us that we need to act quickly and efficiently to really achieve the 1.5 degrees Celsius of global warming if we want to avoid, worse consequences than those that we're going to already face. So if we summarize sustainability, we all talk about it, we're learning what it is, but imagine a world where this is not an add-on, but it's at the core of the way we do business. So the SDG Impact Initiative, it's all about that. And I'm going to share the slides with you, but basically the main changes are, instead of thinking about the organization as standalone, you think about the organization as embedded in a broader system. It's more moving from an egocentric view to an ecocentric view. And it's not about maximizing financial value of the enterprises or the organization, but it's really about this value creation, right, that we talked about. So what is SDG Impact? So we are an initiative within the UNDP. The UNDP is the UN Global Development Network. We advocate for radically change the word for good, and we are the integrators of the SDGs. SDG Impact was born as an initiative within this organization to do really the following, which is help mobilizing private capital towards the achievement of the SDGs. For doing that, our theory of change is that we need to do three things. And this is how I like to summarize it. Impact intelligence is about, are we doing the right things? Are we focusing on those investments or those areas that are most catalytic for sustainable development? And as an example, it's not the same to invest, for example, in water resource management for drought in, I don't know, Maryland than in California, where in California there's water scarcity, or in Maryland, we tend to have floods. So it's about to put in context that an initiative that is really important in one location might not be as important in another. And there are priorities that are based on the needs. So the intelligence is that not all the SDGs are the same in all contexts. And it really depends of where you are and what do you want to impact. So that's what I call, are we doing the right things? And impact management for me is really, are we doing things right? It's about effectiveness in the way we manage our organizations. And impact facilitation, for me to simplify and get organized in my own mind, is like, matchmaking. When you find investors that want to invest in those most catalytic areas, and you have organizations, how they can meet each other. And the SDG Impact Team really works in these three pillars. So we were born in 2018, and it was really a pilot. And the reason we exist is because that's what they told me, I wasn't there. that there were this big meeting, and all the senior leaders were thinking, we have all these principles, right? Principle for human rights, for women empowerment, and we haven't really seen a change in the way businesses behave. So maybe there is something that we're not doing. So that's when they developed, we need to develop the standards to manage differently, and we need to help them to identify those areas that are most catalytic. Again, I will share this, but basically we tested the concept in 2019. It seemed, based on the market feedback, that we had a business case, and I like that Alex liked it, because that's, I think, it validates also the work we're doing. And then we just developed some tools that I'm going to talk about in a minute and show them to you. So impact management. That's the first pillar. You remember I show you here 3 blocks. So I'm going to talk mainly about the blue pillar, but I'm going to share, Alex, if that's fine with you, this presentation where there's also information about what we have in impact intelligence. So you can all have access to the information. And I would love to complement, by the way, our impact intelligence with these artificial intelligence tools, Alex, that you have. So we need to talk about that because this is really powerful. So why are the SDG Impact Standards needed? And I'm going to tell you too what they are. So, and I'm going to repeat it in a bit because this is really different than the not the standard, but what we see most often. And Alex also talked about it. He talked about impact management and about measuring and performance. So the standards are really about managing for impact. Okay, and we're going to go in a minute to do a deep dive in this concept. But why are these standards needed? And I think, again, Alex explained it really well. There are interdependencies, and enterprises and investors, if they want to prosper, they are really dependent on the health of the planet and the well-being of humanity. And the private sector is being called to really mobilize its resources to achieve, sustainable development, even beyond the SDGs. The SDGs are up for 2030, but what we're talking about applies to the SDGs, but also goes beyond. Something really interesting is that 72% of companies mention SDG in their reporting, but only 1% report quantitative measures. So you can see a clear gap in terms of committing to the SDGs or saying you're aligned to the SDGs as an organization versus actual impact, right? Which is something that Alex also covered in terms of metrics and measuring and data and all that. So there's a clear need there. And the OECD published the following. Basically, pre-COVID, we had a gap of $2.5 trillion to achieve the SDGs, and this gap has increased in 70%, and now we are in 4.2 trillions, which seems pretty bad, but the good news is that, not good news, but what gives us hope is that this amount only represents 1.1% of the total global finance. So that means that we only have to 1%, to get there. So there is hope. What are the challenges in doing that? The challenges are that not enough capital is aligned to the SDGs, number one. And number two is that there is no real evidence of the results, right? So imagine that those organizations and investors that are committed to the SDGs, still we have challenges in terms of demonstrating actual performance, actual impact. So for example, what does that mean? It really means that we have 2 problems, right? One is mobilizing more capital, which is maybe alignment, start doing the right things. But then once we allocate that capital, do things right, improve how we manage those resources. So the reasons why SDG Impact has put together the standards is to really help to solve these 2 problems. Also, the standards are really conceived under the assumption that we cannot keep doing what we have been doing. And I really like this cartoon, which says, what got us here won't get us there. So basically, we need to find a new way of doing business and investing. And also, Albert Einstein, I agree with this, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So that really is a call for change. So the SDG Impact Standards, they are all about management. They are about practice. So as I said earlier, the big change that we're proposing is not having impact as an add-on, but as the core on how business gets done. Not only talking about SDG alignment, but actual action and results. It's not about reporting, it's about decision making. It's strategic, and it's all about value creation or double materiality. And with the views of thinking of sustainability really in the long term. So the SDG Impact Standards, as I said, and I will keep repeating this because sometimes it has happened to me that after hours of talking about this, I still get the questions, what are the metrics, like indicators are those that Alex show? And this is really standards of practice. So imagine that you are the CEO of an organization, and in the same way that you, for example, look at quarterly revenue and profits, you're going to look about metrics in environmental and social impact, because impact is as important as financial return. So it's really about embedding impact in decision making, which is your strategy when you set your goals, when you monitor them and implement the practices and policies to achieve them, when you look at the results and learn, and the continuous cycle. In the same way, any organization is just managed. Now, let's say that the new variable of success is not only financial return, but also impact on people and the planet. It also has this strong assumption that by managing, considering impact, right, in your business or in your private equity fund, for example, it's really a proxy and a leading indicator for future impact performance. Alex talked about the challenges that we have in terms of measuring impact. And that's a challenge that's always be there. There are limitations in the terms of the data that you need. So what we imagine is, a situation when you have both main data points or approaches. One is actual data on impact performance, but also information on impact management. And those are complementary. Okay, and you remember I said this is not about reporting. Reporting could be, I'm going to tell you what I already do. Here's the information, that's it. Management would mean, here is the information, and what are we going to do with this information? How do we learn from that information? So it feeds into the process of improving the decision to maximize our chances of really have positive impact in people and planet and financial. I will stop 1 second just to reflect on the word impact. So when we talk about impact within the context of the SDG Impact Standards, we refer to economic, social, and environmental impacts. So the three of them. It's not only social and environmental, it's also economic, number one. Number two, it could be positive or negative. 3, it could be intentional or unintentional. It could be direct or indirect. Okay, so this is what we mean in SDG Impact as, impact. And this is really important because when we're going to talk about ESG and risk management and materiality, sometimes, we depending on which approach you're going to take, if you look at financial materiality, you're going to take care of certain impacts, certain environmental and social and governance dimensions. But what we are saying is that's fine, but if that might not give you the whole perspective of all your impacts, intended and unintended. So what the standards are going to promote is start by what are your impacts, what are your stakeholders? And once you define that, you can see what is financially material, what affects value creation. Okay, so for us, this is really, really, really important and at the core of what the SDG Impact Standards are about. They really go beyond financial materiality. So for us, the SDG Impact Standards, we design them with the hope that it really helps you in the what are the actions we need to take in an organization if we really want to have impact at the core of the way we do business or we invest. The standards, as you're going to see, we have developed them for enterprises, private equity funds, bond issuers, and also we have developed standards with the OECD for sustainable finance, which is mainly donors and development finance institutions. All of them have the same core, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes. And all of them are trying to do what I said earlier. It's really about helping organizations to embed impact in the way they are managed, in the way that decisions are taken. We felt that these standards were necessary because there were a lot of high-level principles, taxonomies, metrics, standardized metrics, the benchmarking, I'm in the Spanish mode, and reporting performance, but the SDG standards are really there as a missing piece because they give you this link between principles and these metrics and taxonomies and frameworks and tools in a way that they go a level down in between. And what is it that they cover? They are going to cover strategy, as I mentioned, management, which is policies and practices, transparency, which is about disclosure, and governance of the organization. This is just another way of seeing how it fits in between principles, the decision-making framework where the SDG impact standards are placed, and then the impact management tools. So for us, it's really a space that, although we always say this space is very crowded, we saw that there was a missing piece in the sense of needing more guidance in terms of how to improve impact management. This is a little bit what I said, but illustrated in this diagram. And again, if you look at it carefully, what you're going to see, well, this is really nothing new, right? We manage organizations. These pieces are familiar. We have strategy, we have management, we report, and we have governance. And all of that is integrated. And that's exactly what the standards are about. Yes, it's exactly what you know when you do business, but embedding impact into this. I'm going to share with you because it's just more detail about what you have in under strategy. Of course, this commitment in terms of adhering to responsible business practice, looking at the context and the needs and the stakeholders' needs. Stakeholder engagement is a big piece of the standards, defining the objectives, then designing the policies and the practices to put them in place to achieve the goal. And then how do you disclose public reporting, communicating consistently and in a way that is clear. And finally, that the governance and the incentives are set in such a way that it supports all these pieces working together. And something that we also did with the standards is, and you will see it in our website, is that it really links to existing principles, existing metrics, existing tools and practices. So we make sure that we're not duplicating. And if you look at it, you will see not only our standards, but the link to the resources, right? So for example, the 5 dimensions of IMP or the ABC framework. The benefits of using the standards, I think we've seen the business case for the SDGs, but the benefits that I mentioned is really learning how to put, impact at the core of the business and exactly what does it mean. Investors can really frame their investments in terms of these standards because they are standards for private equity funds, and also it helps to benchmark and compare because the standards use a common language. There's a glossary that we have, and we use the terms that are embedded in the market at the moment. And we have seen already, for example, in the case of Argentina, policymakers that are requesting companies to use the standards or encouraging them, that's a better word, to use the standard to prove that their social enterprises are committed to the SDGs. So it's proven useful in that way. We work with a series of actors, as you can imagine. And this is an example for launching every standard. We have done extended consultation, but also working with private equity funds, enterprises, and bond issuers to test the standards and get feedback. And we're going to continue to do so. And in terms of resources, as I mentioned, we have the glossary. At the moment, we're developing guidance notes, which go beyond the standards to explain a little bit more what we mean by each standard. We're going to also launch a free online impact measurement and management course in September, which is going to be available in Coursera. We also have advisory services in terms of supporting the implementation of the standards and providing training. And a piece that is really important that I'm going to talk in a minute about it's the assurance framework, right? So these standards are completely voluntary. So they're available, they're a public good. Everything we produce, it's a public good and open source. So it's available for free and it's non-proprietary. And the assurance framework, what it's gonna do is, you remember how we said there were challenges in terms of SDG washing, impact washing, or rainbow washing? Well, what the assurance wants to do is really have a third-party verificator that can really validate that the organization is meeting with the standards, which means that they're really committing to sustainable development. Because they are standards of practice, they recognize that this is a learning process and it's going to be ongoing. So there are going to be different levels for assurance to get awarded the SDG Impact seal. So here is a little bit more detail about this framework. And basically right now it is under development and we're hoping to launch it by the end of this year or beginning of next year. There is more information also in our website. So this is pretty much what I have to share about the standards. Alex, I'm not sure how we are with time because I can stop here or I can tell a little bit about impact intelligence and the SDG investor maps, but I know that the main interest today was the standards. Just let me know and I'm happy to adapt.
Oh, you can go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Alex.
Welcome.
I just worry I don't leave time for all your interesting.
You have enough time.
Okay, cool. So as I said, I just mentioned to you all the products we have under impact management pillar, which was the pillar number 1 that I showed you at the beginning. And at the beginning, you saw that under that pillar, the standards are really at the core, right? Really the training and the assurance all go around at the standards. So now I'm going to talk about impact intelligence. When I said, are we doing things right? So what do I mean by that? So basically, the SDG Impact Team has developed a methodology which aims at developing by country a map of what are the investment opportunity areas that can deliver 2 things, financial returns and impact. Okay, so what they do as a methodology is they look at priority sectors in each country and identify the national development needs and also sectors that where the government is committed to support them and make them successful. They prioritize the subsectors, they identify sub-regions, and they look at the business models behind to identify specific areas within sectors that could be attractive for any investor that really wants to invest and contributing towards these SDGs. So the methodology is really it's going to provide the following information. So you're going to have sector information with target locations, business model per se, and case studies. The business case includes the potential market size, the return profile, the time frame, the ticket size, the expected return, and also you will have an impact case, how investing in this area is going to really promote these SDGs in this particular country. And something really important, it also looks at the enabling environment. Policy and regulatory and financial factors are also embedded in this methodology. So this process takes about, depending on the country, between 2 or 4 months. And after going through this exercise, what they provide is this investment opportunity area. So here is an example of what kind of information you would get. And as you can see, it's this geography, development need, expected outcome, market considerations, etc. And even a classification, as you remember, I told you that we try to align to existing practice. So for example, there is the IMP classification that talks about the ABC model, right? Avoid harm, contributing to benefiting stakeholders, and then C, contributing to the SDGs or sustainable development. So for example, in this case, this investment opportunity area in this country is really about act to avoid harm. So this is the type of information you can find. And here are other examples that I'm going to share with you of some cases. And we have, and I'm going to share the information in the chat, put all this information in the Global Investment for Sustainable Development platform. that really allows you to do a search and look at it to identify, these maps and these opportunity areas. The information it contains is about these SDG investor maps. There is also information about the standards and links to other resources. And it got a lot of publicity that you can find, but most important, I just want to tell you the status. So these are the maps that we have completed so far, and there are many more maps in process. The way this links to the standards, you remember when we talk about strategy, right? And strategy is really about what are the opportunities to have financial return and positive impact. So basically, when we think about that, these investor maps allow you to respond to this question. What are the needs in specific countries? So it provides, factual and concrete information that can help enterprises and funds to really decide their areas of focus based on the potential impact and the potential financial return. Of course, this is something that needs to be updated because this is going to change. And I wanted to show you that how these two tools are aligned. So this is all I have to share for you today, but I'm happy to respond to any questions and share the websites and the links for you to look at in more detail.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's up to you that whether you want to have a Q&A now or at the end. So
maybe we can ask the audience what do they want.
Yeah, because we have enough time. So, yeah, you can ask now and then you can ask later, right? So yeah. Is there anyone have a question to Belissa about it's fascinating because I just learned a lot from your talk. So it's better, because for example, it's better to learn from the author, right? Rather than read the book, right? So it's like so you are the developer of this standard, so it was much better to understand rather than just look at it in the document.
Really, I hope so. Right? I was trying to, at the end of the day, for me, it's really important to understand when we think about all these standards, what is it that we're trying to achieve? They are for what? Many times we get into the discussion, this or the other. And the first question is, okay, but what are you trying to achieve? Once you know that, then you will find the right standard. That's why I was repeating and repeating. This is really about management. So I'm glad that is clear. Thank you.
So yeah, you can ask anything now. Hey, Manuel, do you have any question?
Sorry, I'm on mute. Actually,
I can hear you now. So
okay, thank you.
He is my my partner too. We are build up some ESG digital transformation framework now. So we are collaborating. So he is also the same field. He was the telecom area, and then when we met, actually we talk about ESG first. And then later we talk about telecom because I was also in telecom area. My first job in South Korea is actually after my short time in university professor. I hired from the South Korean government to build up the mobile telecommunication infrastructure. So I'm working starting from the 2G mobile, like a cell phone, like at the time was a CDMA technology. Qualcomm has the technology. And after I was part in like a standardization for the ITU. And so I have some experience with like a UN like organization. ITU is a part of the UN. So, but anyway, so he is pretty much expert in digital transformation also, and then also have expertise in ESG. So do you have any question? Because you can
sure. Thank you very much for the introductions. And Alex, I should add that you are kind enough to join the board of advisors for our young and dynamic organization, which we call it AKFI, Actionable Knowledge Foundation Institute. It's a non-profit that we're launching. Specifically, and thank you both to you, Alex, and to Belissa for the presentations. Regarding standards, there are a lot of activities. More recently, I've seen governments, even the US government, stepping in to set investment-related standards, because they claim there are 600 different ways to measure ESG in the world. So I don't know if you have any comment. I think both Alex and I, as Alex mentioned already, we are really interested also in the intersection of ESG and technology, especially digitalization, digital technology. So there are a lot of questions in one. Your choice.
Thank you. That's a very interesting question and a very difficult one, but I give it a shot. So I think the standardization that we're talking about in terms of standards is really related to reporting, right? Finding a common way of reporting. And what is super interesting right now is that there are kind of two different big trends, right? The Americans are going more towards financial materiality, mainly, while the Europeans are really more towards value creation. And so to me, really, if you focus on value creations, which our standards are about, you cannot miss financial materiality. But if you just focus on financial materiality, you can really miss important impacts on people and planet, right? So, well, that's my preference. That's why I work also with the UN. My advice would be to focus on the Europeans, because if you do that, you will respond to the American regulation anyway, because the bar is being set at a lower level. And you will cover anyway financial materiality. This is really, really important because I studied finance a long time ago in my other life, okay? But don't ask me anything about finance because it just shows that I can do it, but I haven't worked on that area for a long time. But I remember that one of my courses was about risk management. And I remember that risk management was all about, okay, if you focus on the value of your investment or the value of your enterprise, what are the risks you need to consider? All the risks, right? And when I see how financial materiality is proposing to deal with ESG, considering environmental and social dimensions, it reminds me of that course. And I thought, but this is just business as usual. This is just standard risk management. Of course, you're going to focus today more on the environmental risks, because we've seen, the IPCC report, the climate risk has increased. The consequences are being higher and more devastating and more connected. So if you have, you're producing, t-shirts, and you have your factory in Sri Lanka, of course, you need to worry about what's going on in Sri Lanka in terms of climate change, in case there are floodings or tsunamis or whatever. So, but that is risk management. I could have done it just studying finance. So that's really more of the same, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. And it's not what the SDG Impact Standards are about. What we are about is the model that we have put in place to prosper, okay, is a model that extracts infinitely from finite resources. And that's not sustainable. It hasn't worked. Therefore, what is it that we need to do? The answer for us is not we need to manage better our risks, considering these two variables, so we protect the financial value. Our answer is let's rethink how we define, what enterprises and investors are supposed to achieve. And this is a very complete shift of paradigm, completely different. And I have my own company, and in my own company, for me, profit and impact go at the same level. And I started before working with the UN. And now when I look back after that, I learned the standards because I was more an impact person. I was an impact performance person. And then I got in this world and I learned so much about the standards. And I just joined them, at the beginning of this year. And I can really tell that they're a game changer and they're really important. But I learned that, Belissa, what would have been your decisions if you wanted just money? And I can tell you, half of the things I do, I wouldn't do them because I would be looking for more money. When I'm looking about money and impact, my equation changes, because then I ask, okay, how much is enough that I'm okay with, that I need, that maybe I can work for this initiative that maybe doesn't pay a lot, but is very impactful, right? So it completely changed the way you manage your business. So that's one very important consideration. So maybe, I'm explaining too much or expanding too much, but I think, and I'm not saying what is right or wrong.
Maybe I can summarize. I think you're drawing a very interesting line about reporting about the past, because reporting cannot be about the future, right? And also when we prepare for the future, and I would add not only the European community, but also the direction of China, of Chinese regulators, to look at the future. And in some way, what I think you're saying is like saving some money now to avoid risks in the future, the same way home economies are doing. I think Alex and we came together also because we're not only looking at financial risks. I am particularly looking at technology risks, digitization, which is a big piece of the growth of the economy these days, global economy. And there are many risks. We can spend the rest of the evening, or in my case, evening, talking about these risks. But essentially, ESG does not capture more than cybersecurity risks. There are much more. There are social risks, reskilling of people, automatization. There are economic risks. Don't let your AI to run your company. It's not ready yet. It's still a growing kid. So thank you. I think you provided really a very good perspective of the difference between reporting on the past and looking at the future.
And I love how you say it. And I just wanted to say there's no right or wrong. Each of us needs to take a decision. I just share my perspective and how I see it. But at the end, it's really about what is that you're trying to achieve and knowing what everything is, what is what, because these two very different approaches, they're all called sustainability. So we need to be really careful. And our responsibility as human beings right now in the face of the big challenges we have is to be informed, to not assume that regulators or others are going to come with what is needed. We need to understand what is exactly that you're telling me. So this is your approach. So this is your assumptions. Do you agree? You don't agree? So that's why I wanted to talk about these two differences, because in the world today, they're all called sustainability. And I find that is very risky because it's very different.
Reminds me of a Latin dictum which says, keep the peace and prepare for war.
Well, I like that. You remember the story, the Emperor Clothes?
Yes, of course. The Midas story.
Yeah.
Okay, so
thank you very much.
Yeah, any other question? Because my talk,
I do have a question whenever you get a chance, Alex.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah.
So thank you for that. By the way, very, very good. I work in the field as well, and there's never a lack of a good debate about the definition of sustainability, which is why I really enjoyed. Actually, I went off and did the impact assessment while we were going through it, because I was very curious. I hadn't seen it before, and I got to the end of it, and it was. At the end of the day of all these SDGs, which of those can you maximize your positive impact and where can you minimize the negative impact? And I thought, fantastic, we have the same definition. This is what I tell my clients. Sustainability is just about maximizing your positive impact and minimizing your negative externalities within your constraints, right? Which sometimes are financial, sometimes they're familial, and all other types of things, right? But that's a very simple definition, and I think it applies in a very large way to ESG, and I know many people in the ESG space that use a very similar definition, and the ESGs, and then other things in between, which are not SDGs or ESG or any a variant thereof. So I guess, if I were to pose this or reframe this statement as a question, I would say, when we go between the standards and the best practices from the SDGs, and the impact assessments and the technologies, which are in draft consultation number 4. No, 2 now, but 3 and 4 will come, right? And the same thing for the taxonomy and the same thing for the SEC regulation. And then we look at the dichotomy that exists in the world of ESG reporting. Last I checked, there was 50 new SaaS solutions and technology solutions claiming to be ESG gurus and experts in the world of consolidation of people that showed up yesterday and came up with ESG metrics, right? How do you find the balance in this world? Because what I'm seeing is we're actually starting to go into a dualistic state of us versus them. We're impact and you're ESG, or yeah, but ESG is finance, risk and opportunity, and SDG is a bunch of fluffy BS. So how do you really begin to reconcile both sides so that we don't end up in this you versus them or me versus you situation, and we can holistically advance together towards something that is somewhat sense-making-ish?
Yeah, that's a great question, Irina, and you made me smile a lot because you're completely right. To me, at the end, the definitions don't matter, first of all. So it's really about what you do with your clients. What I'm doing, call it ESG, call it impact, call it mango, doesn't matter. It's about, for example, do no harm or doing good, avoiding negative impact, because that is clear. So it's really about what I always do first is, okay, what do you mean by sustainability? What do I mean? Are you talking about this or are you talking about that? And that should be the starting point. And nobody owns, we're not Oxford Dictionary, right? There are so many definitions out there, but the concepts are simple, right? At the end of the day, the concepts are simple. There are things that we need to do, and we can fool ourselves with and trap ourselves in these definitions. At the end, we know if we're maximizing profit or not. Everybody knows. Now, where is the opportunity to work together? When there are overlaps. But think of this very clearly. What if I tell you right now, I want to travel, and you say, fantastic, and I want to go to Asia, and you want to go to South America? We're going in different directions. They're different, and that's it. And what we have to do is not be judgmental. There's no right or wrong. There's no better or worse, depending on who you ask. So it might be that we take the same plane and the first stop in the first lap, but the second one, we're going differently. So to me, we need to accept that there might be differences, see if there are opportunities for overlap and work together. Like always, if there's an opportunity, don't judge others, don't be confrontative. There's an opportunity to collaborate. But also there's not gonna be 100% match when organizations or people wanna go in different directions. And this is important to accept too. This is a different direction. It's a different exercise. And if you do it with one example, and I would love to talk to you online and we can do it together. Let's take one example with maximizing enterprise value or value creation. Chances are we won't get the same results, right? And that's fine, but maybe we get 50% or 80%. Okay, let's work in these 50% and 80%. And that's okay, right? I think it's just where we are. And then
it's tricky.
We'll see.
Yeah. It's tricky. And I ask a difficult question because I face this all the time. People are like, oh, but how is this different than what GRESB does? And I'm like, GRESB? What? GRESB is a checklist for real estate assets with has nothing to do with impact. But it's okay. That's a great place to start, right? And I guess, you answered that very well in my mind, because it's just about thinking about what is it that you're trying to do. And if you we all have the gift of thinking. And if we just go back to the gift of thinking, the metrics and all of that other stuff will come, because you're really trying to decipher what is it that I'm actually really trying to do. And that's seldom the reason is maximize profit in the short term, very seldom.
Yeah. And that's exactly right, because to me, it's about empowering people. So given where they want to get, they use all the talent to get there. And the management system is about that. If they realize, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that, they improve. So it's what you're saying. And you just need to be clear on the goal. And then you just explain, no, the purpose of this is this one, but you and I agree that we're trying to do this, right? Okay, if we're trying to do this, this is the standard. And also careful with the standards in general, because this is my dream, okay? And it might be silly. imagine humanity and everything we have achieved. How fantastic we are. We went to the moon. Now we're touristing in the orbit. We find cures for diseases. We just do so many amazing things. So do you think those bright minds, if they really think, okay, how can I make money and have impact? Wouldn't they invent something fantastic that you and I may be doing a checklist we won't think about? Or when they look at their business, wouldn't they know better than us if they are missing something that's important? And the only way they will get there is if in their mindset they have profit, people, and planet. Profit, people, and planet. So that's my belief. I really feel that, okay, I give you the tools and the how, in my humble opinion, but please don't trust me, because at the end of the day, you're the one who knows your business. You are the one who will tell me really if you're doing this seriously or not. And you cannot lie yourself. And if you're really committed, we'll get, not even to the moon. We will achieve this goal of 1.5 degrees Celsius and much more. That's my humble belief. And I find myself, I always thought I was like a technical person. Now I feel more like I'm working in advocacy, because I really feel that we need a change of hearts and mind aligned. And if we get there, humanity is going to thrive. We have all the capacity to get there, right? And this is the moment to work with those that want to do it and want to go towards the same place, because we don't have time to wait. And then we'll see. And others might get there or not, or maybe we're the ones that are wrong, and it's fine. We will all learn, right? It's a process, but I'm confident we'll make it. And I'm hoping that, those CEOs will be the ones improving our standards. So don't worry about the checklist too much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a last section that I'm going to go ahead, and then after my talk, we can have a friend of time. So if you want to stay, then we can have another Q&A time after my talks. So my topic that I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to talk about is ESG digital transformation. So it pretty much technical. So some topic might be you're from the technical background. You already a lot of topic already knew about it. But if you're not, then you maybe think about that. This is the way actually that you look at in a different view through the technical guys' view about the sustainability and ESG. Okay, so here I'm clarifying that what is the ESG digital transformation imperative. What I mean is the imperative means that it should be essential part of the ESG management. And the reason is that because ESG digital transformation, I just define it like the integration of the digital technology into all domain of the ESG to transform sustainability management, sustainable investing, and sustainable development in innovative ways. So here is the innovative ways is this is a silo actually it introduced some technology matter in ESG and sustainability matters that the manual talk about. Here is ESG has a missing part is actually technology. So I'm going to raise some kind of new ways to look at this ESG sustainability. Okay, so for example, WEF is the most active area looking at this integration of ESG and digital transformation. So they talk about for example, a fourth wave, the environmentalism. So they're looking at the, that WEF is a famous fourth industrial revolution. So they are looking to a next generation technology, how they can be integrated with to most significant issues that we need to resolve. So they're looking at how the digital technologies can be integrated to resolve these environmental issues. So they make initial a forcible environmentalism, and also recently they gather with some of the industry leaders in digital technology like HP, like Microsoft, and other companies about looking at the sustainability in a view of the technology innovation. So they look at how they can integrate. Actually, their level is actually to integrate. They talk about bridging, but what I'm now doing is a more deeper level integration. So how we can bridge the digital transformation is also imperative for the most of the enterprise. So you may know about they made before ESG was most important topic was a digital transformation. Now is a ESG. So I want to combine the two topics. And then they recently have published about the bridging digital and the environmental goals. So they only look at the environment issues, but that they can be extended more like in other components like social and the governance issues also. And then here that I just summarize about this one, but I'd like to make it clear that this is my understanding that these guys are not in the sustainability ESG field. So their most concern is to innovate, not the reporting, management, investing. This is one. So their viewpoint is how actually can bring this digital technology to innovate the companies like technology, process, operation to get the sustainable enterprise. So their view is some way to like a component of the sustainability matters. So this is some different viewpoint. And then I'm going to talk about later is about how actually can these technologies can have to manage investing and then also the reporting. That's another view. That's I'm also interested in both sides because I'm in the both side ways. So it should be clarified that this view is for the internal ways of the innovation of the component of the sustainability. And then also I'm interested later that I showed you before about the impact assessment, like using AI, is the view that how you can, digital technologies can be integrated to manage and the assessment and investing. So there are two viewpoints, and then I think about they should be combined. Okay, so for example, ESG transformation is effective integration of the ESG sustainability into business strategy model and the operation based on data-driven material. So it's somewhat is similar to the ESG management area, but it's the way actually integrating it is through the innovate process. So the traditional way to like assessment risk opportunity impact assessment and over the supply chain management. Also like ESG data informed decision making to lead the sustainable economy, and then the sustainable data gathering and the sharing, and also like a growth engine by innovating companies' operation, product and service. And then here, so here is actually the have some the answers about like we talk about also. I talk about initially about what is impact. Before that the impact is a summated like outcome, and then the most consider is just two part like opportunity and risk in the management ways, and then investing ways. But I like introduce as a third component that we should take care of in the ESG management investing is what impact. So impact is a value. Actually, this is a goal. Actually, what we are doing in sustainability ESG management investing is the impact. We want to do that. So I explained that this is not the way actually we think about impact in investing, because impact investing is some way to we trade off. We got to get the impact through some trade-off, like some way to we think about the less profit. But this is not the way. Actually, what I'm raising like is ESG transformation is maximize total value. So in this way, actually, the impact is integrated part of this aspect. And then we are not going to be trade-off. We are going to maximize, including impact and then profit. So this is the way actually the different paradigm shift that we are looking at the like ESG sustainability and impact ways that actually we are going to maximize the value through this ESG transformation happening from the digital technologies. This is a different viewpoint that I'm going to raise the issue. And then here is the one actually I'm trying to do because I cannot do for myself everything. So the manual I collaborate. I wanna more people get together to share the idea that how we can maximize our proposals through this ESG decentralized transformation. So I often DX forum in Facebook, LinkedIn. So I invite many people to think about this new paradigm shift to have a more like accelerate this sustainability. And then here is some technical ways actually I'm interested in like a solution to information governance. So here's like a metrics and data is the most essential issue in the ESG management investing and disclosure. So how we get like a standard ways of the data management, and then how we can manage the people, processes, system in an integrated over the like ESG information governance. And then here is because I'm traditional IT guy, and then also I'm pretty much familiar with this matter because I one time when I came to Boston, actually I was a visiting professor at the Boston University School of Management. Actually, my working group was there is about the enterprise IT system group. So this is the topic I pretty much familiar, and I have a look at it. Okay, so why not? There is a lot of the like digital technology, enterprise like a system like ERP, CRM, SCM, and then like enterprise like architecture. So why not ESG and sustainability matter can be integrated this already like implemented in every company, because every company actually at least one part that they already implemented. Why not they can be integrated this digital solution with this sustainability and then digital ESG management, data management, gathering, and then everything, the business making, decision making can be integrated. So this was my idea that it can be have a solution for this. And then this is one actually that I'm working with my business partner about that what should be the next generation like ESG solution for ESG sustainability analysis. For example, it should be like a business industry, just a specific material context. They should be considered this one. And then also like should be maturity and forward-looking assessment in the company. And then it should be dynamic and time sensitive. And then should we include the time analysis, scenario analysis, and then should we quantify real world impact, and then should be like in the investing ways. This is a hot topic actually. A lot of people are asking me in the investing guys, because one time I have also experienced to try to build up some private equity. So I have many network people about this have whether ESG really can generate alpha. Alpha is like a traditional way to measure your performance in the investment. Actually, is how they actually above market risk or just return. And then the problem was like the risk like adjusted risk is too much. So a lot of people are debating about whether really ESG integrated investing can generate a source of the generating alpha. This is very critical issue and some people say that they can and some people cannot. So I want to contribute to this the issues to resolve it. And also like you need to provide here. So it should be maximize risk opportunity impact analysis. So it's not trade-off. So you should be some way to maximize this three variable area. Sorry about that, because I'm just whenever I look at this one, I'm mostly like a quantify. So I'm looking at as a variable. So how I actually can maximize these three variable problem to solve this resolve these issues. This is one actually the recently look at it how I can actually make a platform. This is one. The interesting is this is a Samsung SDS is one of the Samsung in South Korea groups IT company. And then they in their sustainability report they provide they're going to build up this kind of like platform. And then this is total integration of the digital way to ESG management like from the data management and then operation and process management. And also I add up the missing component is like it should be also provide like a performance and sustainability impact measurement here. Then it will be perfect way to that. And then this is the one my private. Actually, they have a typo here, so they missing it. It should be stakeholders. I put it in here, and this is the one actually. I look at this one, and then I found that this might be very important topic for them. So actually, I look at their here their sustainability report. And then they have some remark that whenever the suggestion, then contact someday, they provide the contact as well. I provide this issue that I look at your sustainability report, and then I found this one as some typo. It's a typo, but it should be very important for your project. So I send them the page, and then actually my intention that I'm going to cite your work, and then I think this is very fantastic way. But I surprised actually the contact their IR department, and I also personally contacted some of the professional actually working for this project. Nobody answered me any response. I'm surprised. This is not ways of the ESG way sustainable, because the reason that I'm just mentioning is because they're really serious about this ESG sustainability matter, not just by like greenwashing, just providing by the document. Actually, they are really serious, because I saw that all of their like executives appear there, show the portals, right? And then I found that some, for example, that if I'm the member of the like a BlackRock, just assume that I'm a global investor and I'm interested in this side, and then I look at it. Oh, okay, very, very fantastic way. And then look at it, here is a typo, and then how they think about it, right? So because I'm a Korean American, so I just let them know about it, but nobody responds. So this was a surprise, and I'm disappointed about. This is my personal view, but anyway. Okay, so I done everything, and then here is something that I'm not going to talk about. This one is this is an internal way. Actually, the digital technology, digital transfer can contribute to ESG sustainability in different ways, two ways. One is can help to ESG management, investing, and disclosure. And the second thing is actually in individual ways. For example, every company, like in the big company now announce like a carbon net zero, right? And then they say, oh, we are going to net zero by a certain time of year, 2030. And then the traditional ways like look at your company's operation. For example, what is your scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 carbon footprint. And then you look at the internal and the buying, and then your supply chain, and then you look at it, how you manage it and how you operate it, right? And then you get the like a reserve, and then how actually make the operation efficiently, and then how it actually can reduce your carbon footprint or something like that. This is a traditional way to actually manage the ESG sustainability for the like a carbon like a footprint management. But another way actually to contribute is you develop based on this digital technology, actually how you can decarbonize your in your business operation or your supply operation, or for example, how you can actually reduce the carbon footprint through your manufacturing, through, for example, you apply the AI and then make like a AI intelligence to monitoring whole process and make a most efficient way. For example, Google, that have a lot of the data centers, and data center like it's just a lot of the electricity. And recent Bloomberg actually reporting said that actually the cloud computing, like a Google data center, is all of the world that they spend now is 8% of the electricity. It's a huge amount. The digital technology itself have to the sustainability and ESG management. Also, digital technology itself is the source of this kind of the ESG risk. So actually they developed their own way. So like way to AI can control their whole system to reduce their electricity and then reduce their like managing their temperature, like in room temperature, to reduce the spending energy, reduce the spending waste, reduce spending their water. So this is another way actually to contribute to this technology individual componently, like individually can involve in the individual process and innovate through this technology. So this is another view to introduce this transformation. But I'm not going to talk about this one. I'm going to talk about next week about this one, but I just put in here. And then the manual also talk about the cybersecurity and privacy. I surprised that not many actually the people talk about ESG, traditional ESG sustainability, talk about this cybersecurity and privacy risk. But here is some proof that, like, for example, Blangla also talk about cybersecurity is the top ESG concern for the institutional investors. And then also they ruin return on trust. So it's a lot of value. You may know about recently ransomware attack, and then a lot of the like social issues. So this is one actually that I did my webinar about the specific about this topic. And then we also should be more focused on these issues, even in the ESG, traditional ESG sustainability community. So this is one I want to deliver you in appendix. So basically I finished everything to talk about today. And then from now on, actually, we have like many times, but if you want to finish up by in like 2 hours, and we can have a 6 minute more, and then beyond that, if you want to stay, and then you can discuss each other, or here that we have a lot of the other we can have many sustainability ESG expert in today's in the audience. So it may be much valuable if you can discuss each other for the discuss about some common topics. So, okay, so I'm going to stop my talk, and that should have a Q&A or any discussion each other. Okay, so is there any question, comment, or you can share your idea or whatever? Yang, are you still there?
Oh yeah, hi Alex. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah, he's a tech guy. He's AI expert. They're working in ESG sustainability, and then also we was from MIT. So, but he is a genuine. I'm not. I mean the Sloan School executive education. He is an undergraduate student, so he's a genuine, not me. But so
no, not at all.
So,
not at all.
yeah. So, do you have any comment or talk about what you're doing now? Because I knew that you changing your job recently.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, really interesting. Yeah, thanks, Alex. Sorry, I wasn't expecting to speak, but yeah, happy to describe a little bit more what I'm doing now, and it's really relevant. I'm sorry I didn't get to watch the whole thing. I really want to watch it later because I saw that you're recording it. But yeah, really interesting. The parts I did watch, with the different speakers, really interesting points. Yeah. Definitely the data is really important, and everyone's definition of ESG is very different. I will say that now I just switched jobs to a company called Eve Blue, which is a ESG portfolio analysis like tech company. Trying to communicate these different metrics better, not so much a data provider, a little bit more like portfolio analysis, trying to, help out with explaining, try to make the decisions maybe a little more relevant for investors. And I'm just digging into our ESG scoring system now. And like even now there's like a lot of questions you're kind of looking at redoing it because like for example, you were talking about alpha. Usually when people are talking about alpha, you do really want the industry, like the rankings by industry, like what all that matters. Like otherwise you're kind of just doing factor investing by industry, right? Which is like not so interesting. So if you, like for investors, it is more actionable potentially to do it by, you know, really relative to their industry peers, you know, what is their performance on E, S, or G. However, I am realizing there is still a problem with this, which is that there is systemic risk as well. Like for an industry, it could be that the whole industry, and many ESG issues are this way, where really, you know, because maybe they use all the same suppliers or the same technology or similar technology, they kind of need to all improve their industry standards together. And then you may, but like that's a good thing. And it would mean, and in fact, if you're an impact investor, that's really the kind of change that you want. You want the whole industry to be reducing their systemic risks for each other. And for a portfolio level, you would want the industry to reduce, to even like have their impacts reduce the systemic risk for other industries as well as for your other portfolio companies. So anyway, long story short, like, so how you really make an ESG rating that is like, maybe there isn't one rating that can, you know, help investors achieve all of this, but it's just something that, it's just like a consideration. Like if you're an investor and you're looking at a rating, it does, you know, it matters more specifically what it's rating and who the peers are, and, you know, and in terms of like how you can use it.
Okay, thank you. Samir, are you there? Samir, are you there? Actually, he is in now Singapore, so maybe very early morning.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, he is also tech guy. Is a blockchain. You know what, like you know that the blockchain is very you know, the Belissa talk about good thing, doing good thing, right? Because the blockchain can do a lot of good things, but now they are notorious by the Bitcoin. You may heard about like a Bitcoin mining spent a lot of the like electricity. And there was a CBS News talk about like if you're going to mining blockchain like now today, and then they will contribute like they only can contribute like 1 degree of the higher than normal the temperature within 20 years, right? So you may about like Elon Musk recently talk about like he bought a lot of the Bitcoin, and they allowed the using the Bitcoin to buy the Tesla electric car. And then recently they talk about I want to do that, keep with the compliance with ESG. So blockchain is a hot issue now in ESG sustainable manner. So do you have any comment or any something to talk about? Actually, what's your time now? It's morning, right?
It's morning 9. Yeah, I'm just while listening to this very wonderful session, I'm just preparing myself for work as well. At the same time, nursing an injury, so I'm a bit slow in my preparation. But yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I think from the group that I'm hearing, I think you're a really awesome group of people, very high achievers. What basically where I come from, Singapore, what we actually want to do as a consulting service is really to see how blockchain technology can be an enabler in industries, especially the good ones. So personally, I'm not very affected by what the market is going at, blockchain and cryptocurrency, the crazy prices and all. I think what I have is very simple element. I have the heart to actually look at different industries, solving real problems with a good technology. Of course, a lot of things are still in conceptual base, but there are some use cases already. And in the likes of Singapore, well, Singapore is a regulations country, right? Full of, so they are, or the government has really implicated a lot of companies to go on safe practice, on ESG reporting systems and all. So I think with the element of blockchain, the attributes of traceability, immutability, and high security, I think this is something that we can actually use to partner with partners, you know, to actually tap into digitization of reporting or compliance or even regulatory basis.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I'm planning to with the summer about how we can enter the blockchain, doing good thing and doing some innovative ways to do ESG sustainability. So I hope that you have some opportunity to work with him and then globally, because Singapore is I think that Singapore is the best place to do something experiment, innovative way, right? So I talk with him and have something to have opportunity like a benchmarking in the Singapore, and then we can extend it to the globally. So I wish in the future we can collaborate about that. Nice. Okay, so is there anyone that have a question or some comment?
Hello, Alex. This is Rafael from Washington, D.C. It was fantastic presentation. I really love it. I have an intellectual curiosity. When you were developing your model, how much is the percentage of structured data versus unstructured data? And do you expect to produce a data model or maybe just a data lake where you can start extracting all the metrics that you're going to be creating?
Okay, so basically ES data are mostly unstructured. So you maybe think about like it's a viewpoint. You can, for example, ESG like sustainability reporting that is disclosed by each company is a document, like a PDF or the website document. So it looks like a structure. If you are the data guy, we can say that it's a structure because it's a specific form. But actually, if the content is not structured, so you don't have any way actually like a rule base you can extract information from this one. So actually what you can do is actually you have your way to extract one. So in that way it is unstructured. So mostly the data is unstructured. So you need to be gather data and then you need to be like rectifying it and the reprocessing and normalizing to be input to the machine learning or the AI or whatever. And then for your next question was that what is actually how about the metrics? So what was your question was?
When you make the comparison with older approaches to CRM, on all those frameworks that we used to do, and technology help us implement in our companies. When you talk about ESG, that digitalization of ESG, are you thinking about a data model that will help companies, gather the data and then create the metrics, or you're more thinking about a data lake where they put all the data and then start creating metrics as they need?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the one. There are many ways. For example, that you can do like semi-manually. For example, that let people actually put the data in a certain form. For example, that you want to manage your like a carbon footprint, and then you provide this like a platform, like Excel type platform that actually let the responsible people to put some data. It can be structured, and it can be easier to do that. Or another way is like I show you in the Finscience AI. So AI can automatically gather data, whatever you want. Then you set the rule through the AI, and then without the manual interruption, they can gather data. So it's depending on how you can integrate it. But it you know, like a company wise, as far as internet ways, because you know that the difficulty even with a desaturation, there is they have a legacy system, right, already, and then adding on something is very tough, will be tough. So so what I'm thinking about is, rather than providing like completely like a new ways, actually it's a better ways depending on their existing system. For example, every company have their ERP system. So rather than providing the new solution, just the interface like API type, and then depending on how they actually operate the ERP, and then customized how they actually can input data through their ERP. So it depending on the existing ERP solution, and then making API, and then depending on how actually this existing ERP solution to treat the data, and then they providing you data, the correct type of data based on their existing ERP. That's my idea. And then maybe later, actually, the more integrating, and they have a changing completely new way, like integrated, like inside of the ERP plus the ESG management data gathering, data management system. So that's my idea.
Fantastic. It's a challenge for all of us trying to implement this. So these presentations again were fantastic. Thank you very much for gathering everybody here, and the information that you shared today was amazing. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Is there anything? Yeah, because for example, Eastern part is already in the 9:09 now. So you can leave now. And then if no question or no comment, then we can call it update now. Okay, so yeah, I think that we talked enough today. And then as I told you in the initially, that I'm going to share this recording and then also share the presentation, so you can look at it detailed later. Okay, thank you to
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, this webinar, and take care, and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.